most part, the biggest issue that I see is too much linear thinking. And by that, what I mean is we're constantly using the past to determine the future, right? And we need to use the past to learn from, right? But then we need to leave it there, right? The past does not determine your future. And honestly, if you're not thinking too linear, then your future should be determining your present, right? So you need to be able to go beyond where you are right now today, know where you want to be, and then come back.
Do you find it difficult to focus on your customers and even your own employees as you're juggling numerous vendors? Do you have more meetings with vendors than you can count? And do their reports filled with technical jargon make you feel clueless and frustrated? Such is the story of Nathan. Being at a car dealership, he's concerned about his store's digital marketing presence and invests most of his time dealing with vendors to promote his business and gain more sales and market share. Nathan is busy handling reports and reviewing them, not knowing what is happening on the advertising front and about his true ROI. Poor Nathan is worried but can't figure out a solution until he found BZ Consultants Group. BZ Consultants stepped in and was able to take the digital marketing vendor burden off Nathan's plate, giving him peace of mind that the best interest of the dealer was always top of mind. Being an unbiased third party, BZ Consultants always made sure to relay the reports in easy, relatable, and actionable ways so that Nathan could best utilize the data. Now, Nathan can focus on what he really wanted, the customer experience and growth. By being your digital marketing business partner, BZ Consultants Group will remove the hassle of trying to hold your vendors accountable and increase your productivity with the time you will now have armed with true data. Together, we make it possible because your success is our goal.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. How is everyone doing? Welcome into another fantastic, fabulous Facts Not Feelings Friday. And to my side over here, we have I'm trying to think of awesome alliteration here. So we're going to go dynamic, diverse, whatever other D. We got to be really careful on the D words here before I get kicked off the channel here, Dave, because you know my mouth and I would get kicked off my own channel. I'm pretty sure at this point.
Very possible.
Very, very possible knowing me. So anyone that knows at this point, I have a bit of a sailor's mouth, but I'm so stoked to have you on the show today with Facts Not Feelings. As you all know, and if you're new to the channel, I'm your host, Brooke Furniss. And like I said, I've got Dave Foy, who is the founder of Fixed Ops Mastermind. And what are we talking about today? We are talking about the challenges of not just fixed ops, but in general, just about strategy, effective strategies for improving leadership and the future leaders, training, mentoring, and just honestly breaking the mold of challenging the traditional fixed op leadership strategies. So before we get in here, Dave, we have got comments rolling in like crazy, and I'm loving this. I'm going to bring up some of the comments here, and then we're going to roll into this a little bit here. So first and foremost, our good friend Russell Hill, who I had the pleasure of meeting in person, and he has an actual person, not just someone we see on our fun of digital here at Digital Dealer, and says, good afternoon, all you wonderful human beings. Actually just said humans. I added the human beings. And I love the always let's grow and let's go and grow. I couldn't even say it correctly. So hello to you, Russell. We got Jordan Cox, Facts Not Feelings Friday, LFG, and Jordan knows me well enough that I usually would throw down that portion of it. And we got Russell, my main man, Dave Foy. This is you, isn't it? I mean, you are Dave Foy, right? He is. I met him in person. He is a real person. We got Happy Friday coming in. We got Jordan, we got Ashley, Jordan saying hi to Ashley. We got all sorts of fun comments already coming in. I mean, you're already being called a stud. We haven't even started, Dave, and you're being called out as the man, the myth, the legend, more or less. This is
right. Well, let's end it here then.
Mic drop there. So with that, it's not just because Dave is phenomenal, and yes, he is. He's a phenomenal human being. But what we're talking about today is a much needed topic. So you all know at this point, share this, comment. There's someone out there that definitely needs to hear this today. Share it with them. Get the comments, keep them rolling, Let's get this party started. And Dave, I don't know if you happened to catch yesterday, but this is when I reached out and said, hey, what is it you want to, what is it you are wanting to talk about? What is it that keeps you up at night? What is that? And you immediately responded back with leadership and training and challenging that mold, as our title says today. And I just kind of smirked in the background in a good way, not in like, oh, that's a crazy topic. But what I'm finding in this trend, whether it was Darrell Terrell we had on the show earlier, or yourself, or in general, even Kaylee, like, these awesome human beings that are fixed ops related. We're just going to call it like you. Whether you want to dub yourself, I will dub yourself because you obviously when I can dub you, it's cool. Or other people, but experts, gurus, whatever you want to call it. But those that start out and start looking and saying, wait a second, we have a problem, and it's leadership, it's training, it's mentoring. And it's just like, I can see this massive trend of these incredible fixed op human beings that just say, hey, we need to talk about this. And so it was just really cool just to see automatically picked up, like, we need to talk about this. So with that, let's get this party rock and rolling. I think we're all ready for this. Can I get an amen on that? I think we're ready for this, Dave. Don't you think?
Absolutely.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Right, let's do it. So, Dave, before we start the first question, I know we have the lightning round at the very end, but start first and foremost. How did you get into this industry? Let's get the audience a little bit of background of how did you get in this industry?
All right, you got to go in the Wayback Machine here. 1987, I started as a tech for Ford. I went through Ford's asset program. It was the first program up here in the Northeast, and that is where I started. And 4 years later, they kindly asked me to not work on vehicles anymore, and so I moved over to the desk side of the house and started my career behind the desk rather than under hoods.
I love it. It's so interesting to hear people's story on how they get to the industry, how it happens. So I love hearing that. So, all right, let's jump to the meat of this. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, what are the common challenges in fixed ops leadership? Let's start with the basics. What are those common pain points? What are the common challenges in fixed ops leaderships?
Yeah, so we can start at the beginning there, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper on that one and say that for the most part, the biggest issue that I see is too much linear thinking, and by that, what I mean is we're constantly using the past to determine the future, right? And we need to use the past to learn from, right? But then we need to leave it there, right? The past does not determine your future. And honestly, if you're not thinking too linear, then your future should be determining your present, right? So you need to be able to go beyond where you are right now today, know where you want to be, and then come back, work backwards from there, right? If I look and I say, I want to 10x my gross profit, right? If I'm going to look from today and using the past as my guide, I'm going to say, I need more techs. I need more bays. I need more hours. I need more customers. I need more advisors, right? Or I can take and say, okay, well, what is 10x my gross profit, right? So if it's 100,000 now, then it's $1 million. Did I do that right? Did I 10x that properly? Yeah, it's $1 million, right?
It's a Friday. We'll go with that. Right. Yeah.
So if I'm at $1 million in gross profit, what does that look like? Right. And that, if I can work from there and then come back to what I need to do, I can get out of that linear thinking, right? Because maybe it isn't more tax. Maybe there is another solution that's out there. But as long as we're going to just think on that linear line, then we're never going to come up with those solutions. So
I'm hoping that everyone just heard what you just said there about the linear thinking, because it's so incredibly true, is that I'm always saying, work backwards to work forward, but really it comes down to, are you just thinking in this line right here? Mm-hmm. And I absolutely love what you just said there. So let's take that a step further on that and go with, what are let's start with what strategies can be used to improve that leadership. Once you've talked about linear thinking, what traditional leadership strategies can be challenged? So how can traditional leadership strategies be challenged? And you kind of talked about, let's just dive a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah. So if I change your question of how can traditional leadership strategies be challenged and take out leadership and put management in there, right? Because that is what, unfortunately, most people are doing, right? They're managing, they're not leading.
Yes.
And so leadership is about trust and transformation. First and foremost, trusting yourself. And after that, so let me back up. If you're managing people, you hold your people back. You hold the team back. They can't grow if you're just managing them, right? They can if you are leading them and if you are a true leader, right? And that's where the trust and transformation comes from. So now if I trust myself, right, I can free myself from doing some of the daily things, empower my team to take over those tasks, which then allows me to think deeper to help transform the team, transform the business. Right. So we've got to move away from managing teams and having actual leaders in our stores that can now allow our teams to continue to grow.
And you've got Russell saying here, true that managers light a fire underneath people to get them moving, and leaders light a fire inside of people. And you touched a chord here that usually gets me a little, speaking of fired, a little fired up, that the amount of, oh, I'm a manager. That's great that you have a title on a business card that means jack shit, because you can be a manager. That does not mean you lead. And then the opposite, just because you don't have manager on a business card doesn't mean that you can't lead. It's so important that we realize this in any aspect, whether that's in fixed ops, whether it's sales, whether it's in outside of, I don't care where you are in the world, you do not need a title to be able to lead. And you also don't need a title to be like, oh, you suck at leading. So I love that you do touch on that. It's so true. So going on, go ahead.
I just want to touch on that point that you just made there. So last night in the Celtics game, right?
Yes.
We're making all of us fans a little bit nervous, right? And during one of the breaks or one of the timeouts, the camera showed at the bench, Al Horford was sitting on the bench talking to the team, very passionately talking to the team. He's not the coach. He's not the leader, right? He doesn't have the title of manager, coach of the team, right? But he is a leader of that team. And you have the same thing within your organizations. Just because they're the service manager, service director does not necessarily mean they are a leader.
And you know me well enough to know that I always resort back to sports, and it's so true. You look at, you can also see when a coach is not a good leader, and you see that the players will gravitate to insert any great leader, I'm always going to resort to Michael Jordan, but there's so many great leaders out there in sports to say, whether it's a Tom Brady, and you see that they are the ones leading. Go back and look when Tom Brady was still playing. And a lot of times the coaches might not have been great. Well, Bill Belichick was, but we look at, and he is the one saying, I'm calling the plays. The amount of time that Peyton Manning would be like, the calls would come in. He's like, no, I'm not running that play. Here's the play we're running. Yeah. And so it's very, very true. So much of that. And we've got Jordan saying you manage process and you lead people. Jordan and Ashley, for some reason your comments aren't coming in, but whatever Ashley said, apparently we're preaching it. So Ashley, I don't see your comments, but whatever, Ashley, we know what you're saying is gold. So we'll go with that. So let's take this a little step further on this, what we're talking right now. And we'll go with what strategies can be used to improve leadership / management, because we're talking about both here, and they are very, very different things in fixed ops.
Yeah. So if we go back to the trust and transformation, right? We need to be able to empower our teams to take on additional responsibilities, right? And there's an entire process that you can use that I taught within my Vision and Values coaching course to properly empower your people, right? Empowerment doesn't mean that I say to you, Brooke, hey, today you are in charge of the loaner car program. That's not empowerment, right? That's career
It's micromanaging.
right? So there's when you properly empower your team, right? So that they have the safety to be able to go and do this job and understand that if they make a mistake, it's just that, it's a mistake, right? That we can move on from that. We can learn from it. We move on from it, and that's it. So when you want to catch big fish, right? Where do people go? They go to the ocean, right? And what type of fishing do they do in the ocean? It's
deep sea
fishing, right? That's where the big fish are, right? So by empowering your team, right, you are now giving them some autonomy. You're giving them some agency in what they do, right? And you are allowing them to now go a little bit deeper in what they do every day. They have a little bit more meaning in what they do. They have a little more care. They take more agency for what they are doing to help the whole organization, right? Rather than just themselves. On the surface, you're going to catch the little fish, right? That's all you're going to catch up there is those little fish. You want the big fish, you've got to go deeper, and you need to be able to provide yourself as the leader the time to be able to do that, to be able to go deeper. And you need to be able to provide your team the reason for them to want to go deeper, right? There has to be a return on attention, ROA, not ROI, ROA, return on intention. And they have to have that reason, that vision to want to do more, to go deeper, to help the organization more.
I'm going to bring up Russell's comment here one more time. Find their why. Yes. Let them know they count, they make a difference, and they matter. Mm-hmm. Allow them to make mistakes and then learn from them. We all want to feel like we are part of something bigger. And Russell, I love that you said that. This is something that I had the pleasure of listening to Sherry Levitin. So if anyone doesn't follow Sherry Levitin, please do. She's phenomenal. She's a great speaker. She's just a phenomenal human being. It was about 2 years ago, I think, out in Napa, I heard her speak. And this is something that she not only talked about, but she had a great analogy of just like, so often we think that money motivates people. And while that's a portion of it, it's not the money that motivates them. It's their why. What does that money represent to them? Does it represent for Brooke that she wants to buy more shoes? Is it she wants to go on vacation more to show off her shoes? Or maybe to get really serious is that maybe it's more they have an ailing grandparent or a spouse or a whatever, and they need that money to pay bills. So maybe look at your health insurance policy. Maybe that's what really is going on. So there's so many reasons. Hey, they just want more time off to spend with their family and kids. So that's what it represents. But finding out their why is so important. And so instead of looking at the skin level, look at the heart level. And it's so incredibly important we do that, because once you do that, your employees now know that you freaking care about them. Holy shit. Right. Like once they know, they'll run through a wall through you. Mm-hmm. But when you just think that you're going to throw more money at them, that's not what's going to change anything. Not going to change anything at all. And Peter's saying money never motivates people. It's always the why. And Peter, you're right. That's 100%. 100%. Mm-hmm. And this actually goes in right into the next question here. How can skill development, training, and mentoring improve fixed ops? Not sure why that's not up there, but that's what it's supposed to say. We're rolling with it.
Yeah. So look, we need to train our leaders, right? You can, some people have an innate ability to be leaders. Most people do not. It has to be trained. It has to be learned. It has to be understood, and it has to be lived, right? So we cannot expect that continuing what we've done, taking the greatest salesperson, the greatest service advisor, and going, here you go. You are the next leader of this department, right? You are the next manager of this department, and expect that they are going to do well at that. Right? Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it works out. They have that innate ability. But typically they had more of a competitive drive than everybody else. Right? And I'm not saying a leader doesn't need to be competitive, but they need to be a lot more cooperative than they are competitive. Right?
Amen.
You still need to have drive, but you also need to have drive for the whole team to come with you. right? And so we've got to start by training the leaders that are there, and also working on training the next level of leaders that are coming up underneath them.
I could not agree more. And just got some more comments coming in here. I'm going to start with Russell here. If they leave over a couple to a few dollars an hour more, it's probably not really the money. It's the management, not the money. I mean, perhaps a few might leave over that, but by and large, it's bad leadership. Peter saying create the culture first. And Peter, I'll say to that, a lot of people will say, oh, we don't have culture. Well, then no, you actually do. It's a shitty culture, but you've got culture. You just don't know it's bad. Yeah. Ted is saying, love it. Russell, first ask why. Russell follows up with thank you. Can't change. Peter saying can't change by staying in the box. Mm-hmm. Jordan, people don't quit their jobs. They quit the manager. Jordan, that is one of my favorite quotes. I love that one. Absolutely love that one. So moving on here, and we should have the graphics right here. We should. I think that was only the one mishap, but you never know. It's live here, so we roll with it here. We're pretty easy going.
We'll make it work either way.
That's for the post production, Dave. That's what we do here. So I think you all just got to see what the next question is. We're going on we did the strategy one, right? So now we're actually going to go into what are common mistakes that fixed ops leaders / managers make, and how can we avoid them? Man, this is a big one.
Yeah. So the first one that I'm going to say they make is not understanding time management. And number two, I'll go back to empowerment. They don't properly empower their teams, right? So they're just turning things over to the team and saying, I have an empowered team. But when something goes wrong, they are not there I used to always say, tell my team, I'm here to provide cover fire for you, right? I'm the air support. I'm there to provide cover fire from the people who may want to hurt you above you, right? So if I have properly empowered my team, when they make a mistake, I'm the one who is going to answer for that mistake, right? Not them, right? That does not mean that number one, I'm weak. It does not mean that for 4 weeks in a row, the same mistake by the same person is going to be accepted, right? That's not what that means. But it does mean that they need to know that they are protected and they are safe to do their job, to go outside the box that Peter just talked about, right? They've got to be able to do that and know that you're going to have their back, right? That you're going to be there to help them so that they can go and get better. They can make mistakes. If we're not making mistakes, then there is no growth happening in your dealership. There is nothing that is changing if they're not trying some different things. And that's the culture that you need to set up, is where it is okay, it is expected that we can go outside that box. We can try some different things. Some will work out great. Some will be epic failures.
And that's okay. Because what is happening when you're not watching, that is your culture. It's not when you're hovering around and watching and micromanaging everything. Let them be free. Let them be who they are. And then you're going to know. That's what's happening. Yep. And it really is when we've all been in those spots where either you're being micromanaged to death, and it's like, no, just let them be. And on the flip side, so much micromanaging happens, Dave, that I have seen people that literally freak out when you're like, just be free. You're free, cheesy bread, free. And if no one's seen that Domino's commercial, you're like, what did she just say? Go check it out. Free cheesy bread, free Domino's. It's a hilarious commercial.
Free Domino's cheesy bread, everybody. Free cheesy bread. Free cheesy bread. Free.
Where's the cheesy bread?
I don't know.
Wait, where's Samantha?
Yeah, where is she?
You don't think she...
You're free, cheesy bread. You're free. Go, go.
Now get an order of cheesy bread free when you buy a large one-topping Domino's pizza for just $9.99. What you do with it, of course, is up to you.
I'm gonna miss those little fellas.
From like the 90s, but really, and they're like, well, I need to be told everything. I'm like, no, you don't actually. You can just be you and do what you think is best. And it's okay to make mistakes. That's what we do, is we get back up. It's okay. So 100% agree with you. So going on to the next one is we're going to talk about management and motivation, because that's a big one. Is Here we go. How can leaders effectively manage and motivate their team members in the fixed ops industry? And I'll say, I know we're talking fixed ops, but this is also going to go into auto industry in general.
Yeah. Again, empowerment. I'll keep using the word. The more you can empower the team, the more that the motivation will be intrinsic. It will be within them. Right. It's not going to be, look, you can have your training where you crank the music when you come in and you get everybody jumping around and doing all kinds of activities and things. That's great. That's motivation, and motivation is fleeting, right? That's gone within a few hours, maybe a few days of when that training ends. The motivation needs to come within. You mentioned the heart earlier. That's where it has to come from. And if you can give them a reason to not a reason. If you can have a vision for the company that is large enough to encompass the vision for their life, right? Then now they have the motivation intrinsically to want to do well, because it now empowers them to go and get the life that they want, right? Brooke can see within the company vision, Brooke can see more shoes and how she gets more shoes, right? And I'd suggest probably more suitcases to pack the shoes into.
Very
right?
true.
So you can see your why within the why of the overall company.
So we've talked about, skill development strategies. They're going to make mistakes. We talked about motivating. So then it comes down to, how can the leaders build a culture of accountability and performance in their fixed ops in their teams now?
All right. So accountability is a word, and if Ed Roberts is, I think he's out of the country, but if he was here, he would cringe like I cringe with the word accountability. Everybody needs to be accountable for what they're supposed to do in their daily life, in their jobs, right? But accountability typically in the automotive industry is somebody getting bopped on the head for doing something wrong, right? That is not the accountability that I'm okay with.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we need to be accountable for doing the right thing, right? That's absolutely the way that you need to live your entire life, not just at work, right? You have to be accountable to yourself, number one, for what your actions are, and to whoever else is an interested party there, be that a spouse, a child, a parent, or a boss, right? And so how do we make that happen? We need to have everybody, first and foremost, completely understand what their role is and what the expectations are. We've been really good at leaving expectations either in the gray or in the black, right? We never really tell them what we wanted, right? But we'll be very quick to bop them on the head when we don't get what we wanted, right? So that's first and foremost. Let's be clear about what the actual expectations are. Being able to have a career path is one of the big things.
Huge.
Right? So automotive is afraid to give people career paths. They're afraid because what happens in a year if I can't make them a service advisor, right?
Yep.
So let's just not do it. Let's if we don't open,
we just won't talk about it. We'll just put it there, and it's okay if they never get there. And if they do, we'll just tell them they can't have it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So if you don't open the closet, don't worry about what's in the closet. Right. That doesn't work. And we've proven it over and over and over again. And yet there's the closet door and it's still closed. Right.
So true. It's so true. So good friend, Dusty Sutherland, he had a great analogy that he has the background, armed forces, and he goes, there's no way that when we go out on a mission that we make sure we're making sure we're hey, everyone's packed, your bag is checked, we check everybody, make sure. But we also knew the mission beforehand, that if this person over here is not qualified for this portion of the mission, there's no way that we're sending them into battle when you're not qualified. If you're not qualified for this, we're not going to send you it. But how often do we do that in business? Oh, you're really good at finance. Let's put you over in service. What are we doing? Oh, but now you're going to fail. And once again, now we're going to punish you because you failed. What the hell are we doing? No, find their strengths. If their strengths are in this department and they're failing, why are they failing? Do they know the clear action plan of what they're supposed to do? Did you check everything beforehand and let them know the game plan beforehand? Because if you didn't, that is on you, the leader, or you, the manager, because as a manager, you are not leading. You did not check everything beforehand and give them a clear action plan beforehand. You just sent them in the battle and was like, nah, hope you don't hit it, step on a landmine, good luck. Yeah. But yet we do that all the time.
Maybe it's just completely not the right position for that person, right? Maybe they were a rock star in finance, but they're not great as a service advisor.
No.
Right? They were, at one point I took over a store and they had a parts manager who was, and from what I heard, because she was gone by the time I got there, was an amazing parts manager, had run the parts department at that store for 7 years or something. They put her in as the service manager because they needed a service manager, and she was doing such a great job at the parts department. And in 6 months, she was flushed out of that dealership. Right? Now, all I heard from everybody in there was unbelievable how good the parts department was when she was in there. And then you talk to the GM and they're like, oh, I guess couldn't do anything in service. Well, yeah, right? Because I think it was Einstein that said you can't judge a fish's ability by how it rides a bike or something like that.
Yep.
Right? I think I got that wrong, but either way,
sounds about right. Something right.
To do with a fish riding a bike, and that it doesn't fit.
It is, and it's so true. But there's so many aspects to it. But once again, are you setting your people up for failure and then blaming them when they fail? Right. That is not on your people. That is on you, not your people. And yet too often we're so quick to be like, oh, you suck. Okay, we're going to dock your pay. We're going to fire you. And then we're just moving them on. And then they lose confidence. And it really comes down to us. We failed them is what happened. We failed them. They didn't fail us.
Absolutely. So I heard an analogy earlier this week about somebody walking through the woods and they find a fence, right? And rather than just tearing that fence down, you have to ask, why is that fence there? Right? Why is it there? And what is going to happen if I take that fence down? Right. And that's the same thing when you move a parts manager in to be a service manager, or you move an advisor up to be a manager, right? That's the fence in the woods, and it's there for a reason, and it has a purpose. And if you move it without finding out the purpose first and finding out why that fence was put there, then you could have some other things that happen because of moving that fence that you knew nothing about.
Yes, I'm just going to say yes to that. Very much yes to that one. We've got quite a few comments rolling in here. I'm going to throw some of these up here real quickly. Just that Peter's saying here is we failed to design a process that everyone can follow, from operations to long-time success. We've got career paths are crucial for quote unquote accountability, which we've all kind of spoke our piece on accountability. If I know there is growth at the end of blood, sweat, and tears, then I want to make sure the mission is complete and successful. The workforce of today isn't the workforce of yesterday. Amen to that. It's not just about a paycheck. They need to know the why, what is the end goal, and also celebrate the wins along the way. It can't be a constant beatdown. No. And then Peter saying fish climbing a tree. Is that the Einstein one, or is that?
All right, I guess. All right, maybe that's what it was.
I've heard both, so I'm not sure. Yeah, but whatever it is, it involves a fish. The fish shouldn't be doing that. We know that much. We know it's something that fish shouldn't be doing, and we're judging them accordingly. It doesn't make any sense. I'm going to jump through some of the questions because we kind of answered them already about leaders affecting communicating the vision. We've talked about already. So I'm going to jump down to the diversity a little bit, because that's another one that is kind of out there. And so. How can fixed ops leaders ensure that they are creating diverse and inclusive work environment? So if you are creating an environment where people can thrive and feel valued, then you're really not going to have to worry about having a diverse and inclusive workforce, because you'll have it. Typically, the way that we have managed fixed ops department has been in a way that has driven away
any women that might want to work in the field, right? Because you guys are smarter than to be bashed over the head day after day, the way that we treated the men in this industry, right? And so you went, yeah, see, I'll go find something else to do, right? So if you can create an actual good culture, quote unquote, you will attract every person that wants to work there, right? They don't want to work there because it's a car dealership. They want to work there because they hear people talking about how great it is to work there.
Mm-hmm. Love it. So also it's the comment that came up earlier about the different workforce. That being said, this is something I know it gets talked about a ton. What is the impact of stress and burnout on fixed op team members, and how can leaders address this issue?
Yeah. So partly this is a career path issue, because there's stress and burnout because you don't know where you're going. You don't know if where you are is where you're going to be in 10 years. And the other part of that is, again, culture and having a good culture, right? Having a compassionate leader. As a leader, the two top things that you need to be are humility and compassion, right? From there, you can build anything that you need to, but you need those to be your cornerstones. And if you have compassion for people, then you're able to see when they're struggling, right? And you're able, and if you have a good culture, you're probably going to be able to find out why they're struggling. Maybe it is something at work. Maybe it's something at home. You mentioned an ailing parent or a family member before, right? If you have a bad culture, you're not going to know that. It's going to come out in bad CSI scores, them yelling at the parts manager for not ordering something. It's going to come out in all kinds of ugly ways, but you're not going to really know what the issue is.
Amen to that, man. It's I think I've told this story before, but I remember working with a dealership, and an employee just was having a really, really difficult time retaining stuff. And I couldn't figure it out. I had tried everything trying to reach this employee. And I just was becoming so frustrated, like bashing my head against everything possible. And I was, doing everything that I knew how to do. And I finally just said, okay, there's something more to this. There's got to be something to happen at home. So I said, hey, let's get you out of the dealership and let's just have lunch and figure out and get you out of that situation. And then this person opened up, and there was a whole slew of things going on at home that there's no way that this person, he or she, would have felt comfortable saying in the dealership. I was like, there we go. That's the issue. But that is why this person couldn't retain anything, couldn't do anything, and was, but it wasn't until you just have to, once again, go further and actually crazy concept, but care about your employees and figure out what exactly is going on. And we've got humility, compassion, trust, and also say empathy. Empathy is so big, and that word gets thrown out a lot, but do you really know what that means, and do you really have it? That's a big one.
Yeah. And there's a big difference between empathy and sympathy, right? So being able to understand what somebody is going through, that's empathy, right? And you can never feel bad enough to make somebody feel better, right? Which is sympathizing with somebody. That doesn't help anybody.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. So this one kind of dovetails into what we just said, but I believe that May is Mental Health Month of Awareness. Memory serves me. So what role does mental health play in fixed op industry? And it's so taboo to talk about this. I get this. We're getting better as a society, but what role does mental health play in fixed ops industry, and how can leaders prioritize the well-being of their team members?
Yeah. So I'll tell you, I did not even notice this question on your list of questions.
Surprise.
And so look, I'll go. I'll call it a mental health issue, but I'm not shy about the fact that I'm an alcoholic. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm 6+ years sober now. In the industry, it's a celebrated thing, right? To drink. Right. And I remember when I quit drinking and was telling my team that I quit drinking, and one of my technicians was like, how are you going to work in automotive if you don't drink? Right? Like, how are you going to possibly deal with the stresses of this industry? without alcohol. It is getting more spoken about. I don't know how great of a sentence that is, but it is becoming more into the open, right? Which is a great thing. That is something that we need to discuss more. Substance abuse, mental health issues that people have that are going to affect their work performance, right? That they are many times ashamed to even talk about, right? Because of what they fear might happen. And we need to be able to get to the other side of that fear and shame to allow them to talk about this, to get the help that they need, to then have more productive employees, right? Our team members, if they're in better health, are going to be much better at producing the results that we're hoping for.
I just 100%. And it's there. Yeah. I'm just going to say yes, 100% to all that. It is so on every aspect of it. And to be, I'm not going to go too far in depth on that one. I'm just going to say, yes, it is so important on every part of that. I don't want to, I'll leave it at that. Yeah. Very, very important. And you're getting a lot of shout outs on this as well. So just continue doing what you're doing. So yeah, I've been on the other side where you are the designated DE for a very, very long time of my life. So I hear you on that one. All right, sir. Let's go into the next part of this. And I'm going to go with, we've talked about the skills, the mentoring, the management versus leadership, but then there's that portion of, we have relationship with the vendors and that vendor relationship. So how can Fixed Ops leaders build and maintain a positive relationship with the supplier, vendors, and external partners? Because that is also leading, because if you're treating your partners like crap, you're also setting a precedent of what it's going to be in-house.
Yeah. So typically if it's somebody who's treating a vendor like crap, they're probably treating everybody else like crap too, right?
Yes.
Look, I don't like telemarketing phone calls any more than anybody else, or the solar guys knocking on my door.
Yes.
Right? I don't enjoy it, but I go to the door, I answer the door, and I stop them before they start, and I say, I really appreciate that you are out here pounding the pavement trying to make a living. I'm not interested personally in solar, so we don't need to have this discussion, but good job. Great work. And now continue on, right? I don't need to peek out the curtain like I'm not home. I don't need to slam the door in their face. I don't need to yell at them to stop coming to my house, right? And it's the same thing with our vendors, right? When the vendors come to the store or they call, have the conversation with them, right? If it's not the right time for the conversation, tell them when it is the right time to have the conversation. The reality is that we need each other, right? I personally would not want to go back to the time when I started as an advisor to the technology that we had, which at the time we were just moving to ADP, right? CDK with the green screens of writing up repair orders. Right. And that was it. That was the extent of technology that we had. There was nothing else. Right. You were handwriting a phone number onto a little key tag that you hoped you didn't lose during the day to be able to call. There were no BDCs. There were no schedulers. There was none of this stuff to help us. Right. And all of that came about through vendors, not through the dealers, not through the OEMs for the most part. It came through vendors. It's a relationship that we need and that does need to be, I'll say nurtured, but look, in the end, the vendors are parts of people in vendors can be your friends. But the vendor is not the dealer's friend. It's a business partner and it's a business relationship, right? Outside of that, just like in work, every people love to say we're one big family. That's great, but we're a business, right? We're a business. We may take care of each other like family, but we are a business.
It's very true. And how you treat that person. And we've all had hey, you literally just dropped in without any appointment, Probably not the best. Would you do that to yourself? Probably not. And I will be respectful of you. Now, if it's a normal, hey, we're doing business with you, it's a monthly call, all that says something about who you are. And I do want to, before we follow up with this last question here, is if anyone hasn't had a chance to check out Patrick Abad, they do a phenomenal job at Beaver Toyota where they literally map out everything. Okay, if you want to start out as a porter to if you want to be a fixed op director, I mean, it's all mapped out. So when we talk about all of this, think to yourself right now, have we done anything to even remotely look at this? Are we looking to say, hey, this is how you go from here to here to here. Here are the steps to do it. Here's what you got to do. Here's the timeline. Because if not, people, as you look at your employees, they don't know what they have to do. It's literally like, well, I might get it, but I'm not friends with that person. So because I'm not friends with that and I don't play the game, I'm never going to get to here. So map it out for them. 100% map it out to them. We've got Ashley says she hates the key tag Kanban system. We've got Peter says start before email or even fax machines. We've definitely changed. Well, 100%. Man, yeah. Before, yeah, when they started getting the internet leads over versus fax machines started, started before. Yeah, we've come a long way since. So let's round it out with this last question before we jump into the fun-filled lightning round question. But there's efficiency versus quality, right? So how can fixed op leaders effectively balance the need for efficiency and productivity with the need for quality and customer service?
That's a whole podcast on itself.
I know. Yeah, would you just wrap that up for us right there, please, Dave? Thank you.
Man, oh man. If I could bottle that and sell it.
Good luck.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot there in that question, right? And that's gonna change depending on what your store is, what the makeup of your store is. But really, let's bring it back into it's the people that you have there, right? Because it doesn't matter what your process is if you don't have the right people, then the process isn't going to work. Productivity and efficiency is all about people and process. And you can't have one without the other. You can have a great process with no people, not going to work very well. You can have people without the process. Sometimes it'll work. Sometimes it won't. Most times it's not going to work.
I think you did a pretty good job summing that up. Like I said, we could do an entire episode on that, but you did a pretty good job wrapping the whole thing up there. So congratulations on that one, Dave. It's not your first rodeo. Not your first rodeo.
Maybe one or two.
a couple times. Well, Dave, love everything you said. I think we've covered a whole lot. Is there anything like a main takeaway as everyone's listening here before we jump into the fun-filled lightning round question here? Any other like main takeaway, best practice that you'd want to sum up from what we've discussed thus far?
I don't know if I have one main takeaway. This has been fun. And I love everybody interacting here in the comments. That has been really great. I hope that people out there got at least one thing right. It's so cliche, but if I can help just one person in the automotive industry, I hope somebody can get something that they can bring back into their store and use today or tomorrow to help the team inside their store.
Fantastic. All right. Well, with that, Dave, we're going to jump into the lightning round now. We're going to jump into the round. So the very first question I'm always going to ask is, how can people find you?
LinkedIn's the easiest way to find me. And is that my LinkedIn?
Maybe for those that are watching, it's going to be a personalized link, and that's going to direct to your LinkedIn and to, I think, Fixed Ops Mastermind. I think it's what you sent me over. So
okay. Perfect. Yeah. And anybody that wants to reach me on the old school cell phone, 774-696-4239.
When he's throwing down his cell phone right now, I mean, that's what we got going on now. So there we go. Okay, next question we're going to is, outside of work, got some free time going on. What are you going to be doing with your free time? Your favorite hobby? What are you doing outside of work?
So a couple things. Got a Bronco from Bozard Ford last year.
Go Ed Roberts. All right.
2-door race red Bronco, which right now it has been nice enough in New England that the top and the doors have been off for 4 days straight. And so we'll be taking that to places unknown and to continue visits to coffee shops around the world.
Nice. I love it. Well, we got to know what color your Bronco is.
Race red.
Oh, you said that, race red. Apparently, if I'd pay attention and listened to you, I would have known that. Hello, I need some more coffee apparently here. All right. What is your favorite vacation spot?
Wow. I'm pretty simple. The coast of Maine, really anywhere that there's ocean nice. is good. But the coast of Maine, I like the rocky coast where you can kind of walk along the rocks and the cliffs and things. The beach I really only do at night because I'm an introvert, so I don't like the beach with people on it. So
I love the fact you say you're an introvert, yet you have a podcast. So we got to figure out those two things there.
I'm an omnivert. Ambivert, I think the name of it is.
Brian said, does someone say coffee? Well, for Brian, this is for you right now. I'm actually a tea person, Brian, but this is for you. But I'm very much a tea person. But yes, we did say coffee. So, okay, moving on here. Next questions we got. So we got Maine, we got beaches, intro / omnivert. That's the first time that's been thrown down on the show here. So congratulations on that one. Let's go. Whether it's in life, whether it's in business, how are you distinguishing facts from feelings?
Hence the name of the show.
The name of the show. It's over whatever direction this ends up flipping. Yes, might be over here at this point. I'm not sure. Yeah.
So for me, the real difference is whether it is something that I can affect change on. If I can't affect change on it, then it's a fact. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. But if it's something that I can do something to affect some change on, then that is something that falls more into the feeling realm. Whether it's feeling something is right or wrong, or whatever that is. But so if I can affect change on it, it's a feeling. If I cannot, it's a fact.
Okay. I like it. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next one. Let's go with, what do you love most about our industry?
Wow. So here's what I like most about our industry. And this is a double-edged sword. I love the fact that there is a very, very low barrier to entry into this industry, and that it can take you, that low barrier of entry can allow you to go to the highest point in this industry. I worked at a group of 8 dealerships that was owned by a former technician for those dealerships. All right. So you can start at the bottom and become the highest point. The double-edged sword of that is some people get into this industry and go, well, I didn't need an education to get into this industry, so I don't need to bother to do any training or learning after I'm in the industry.
And with any craft, man, you've got to constantly be honing that craft. Well, you don't have to do anything. I would suggest that you continue to hone that craft, but how many people don't hone their craft? All right, I would say let's round out with your favorite car. I don't know if it's been the one you currently have, but what is your favorite car?
My favorite car is going to be a McLaren. Not that I own a McLaren, but that's going to be
but it is
my favorite car. I don't think the way my driveway is set up, I could even drive it into my driveway to get it into the garage. I think I would bottom it out and it'd be stuck there. So while I live here, I will never have one.
Wait, Boston cobble roads, McLaren, they're definitely not a problem there. Not a problem at all.
Yeah. It'll work out fine, I'm sure.
No downside that at all. All right, let's round it out with, I'm going to go on a limb and say that you've got a favorite quote. So let's end with, what's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote I actually put into a LinkedIn post a little while ago, which was, so you're saying there's a chance, right?
I just had all of Dumb and Dumber go through my head. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So I realized that that's the kind of movie that it comes from, and there's all kinds of great quotes out there. But really, that's what it's all about. There's a chance out there for you to do and be whatever you want to be. no matter where you are in your life. So as long as there's that sliver of a chance, keep going.
Amen to that. Amen to that. All right. Well, Dave, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been so much fun. Side note, I have no idea what's going on with Brian and Jordan right now. Brian, Jordan, I love you guys. Roll call. I'm not sure we've got what's going on. There's a bunch of, I'm going to have a conversation offline, but love the comments coming in, guys. Thank you so much for the support. I am trying to follow on the side. I'm like, I don't know, but keep it up. I love you guys so much. But Dave, thank you so much. I so appreciate you being on the show, sharing the knowledge. This is something that I know is a very much needed topic. And I feel like, this is something that we just can't speak enough about it because it's so needed and more people need to hear about it. So just thank you so much. And with that, everyone, find a way to serve today. Find a way to help someone. As always, it can be, as I say this over and over again, it can be a kind smile. It can be opening a door for someone. We have Mother's Day coming around the corner for me. For me, anyone that knows me, this is something that's that holiday and this holiday in particular hits really home to me for a lot of reasons. So don't just text. Don't just do a post. If you have if you have the opportunity to actually pick up the phone and call your mom, please do. That is something that so many people take for granted, and please don't. Pick up the phone and call your mom. And with that, everyone, we're going to get out of here. And Dave, once again, thank you so much for being part of the show today. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see everyone next week.